it is so hard for us to draw the line. I don't know if it's that innate thing
It
about taking care of other
is.
people, but
Mm-hmm.
we just can't take care of ourselves. Not everybody, guys, but a lot of us we can't because we're too busy taking care of everyone
Other.
else. Hello, I'm Dr. Teresa A. Smith, Dr. TAS, and welcome to Talk with TAS. This is a show where we get a chance to talk with some experts in all industries and see what's on their mind. The whole purpose of the show is to help other individuals learn things that they don't know, or perhaps to reinforce things that they've heard before so that they can apply it to their lives. Well, how you doing today,
Oh,
girlfriend?
it's been one of those early morning Sundays. I'm good. You had that church nap, but I'm ready to go now.
Okay. Well, you see, at least you had the church nap. I haven't had the
Oh yeah,
church nap.
yeah, had to.
Oh, all righty then. That means
It's
that
too
you're going to
busy.
have to help us pull
We
it through now. You have to help us
got it.
pull
We
it
got this.
through.
How are you today, Dr. Gibson? It's so good to see you.
I'm doing
Always,
well. I'm doing well. I'm doing
always
well.
good to see you.
Well, thank you likewise, everyone. Beautiful faces in the places.
Thank you. Thank you. And hi, Bernice. Thank you so much for joining us. I was just saying to the audience, ladies, that you're no strangers to this platform, and that today we're going to talk about self-care. And, really, we already began it because when Felicia made the statement that she had to get that nap after church, mhm, she was putting herself first. And, sometimes we live in a world where people want us to believe that self-care is selfish. Well, it's not, because lots of times we are caregivers to other individuals. And how can the caregiver be an effective caregiver if they don't practice self-care? So,
Exactly.
Exactly.
it's such a demanding role. And so today I want us to focus on health, resiliency, and that journey. In my work, I've worked in so many different industries, but I've worked in psychiatry, I've worked in medicine, done private duty over the years. I've done a lot of different things, and I've been able to observe how being a caregiver can really drain the person who is trying to take care of someone that they love. But at the same time, they're often torn between, do I take care of mom, dad, husband, whomever, child, or do I take care of myself?
Mm-hmm.
And it's such
Mm,
a hard
Yeah.
place to find themselves at. And so our goal today is to explore how caregivers can maintain their well-being, find some balance, and continue to grow in ways that serve both themselves and the ones that they love. So we're going to be sharing some practical strategies throughout today's session, as well as discussing some common challenges and look at ways to support their personal transformation. So I want to kick us off with this question, which is a critical aspect of caregiving that often goes overlooked: recognizing burnout. Caregivers
mm,
can be so focused on supporting others that they
mm.
miss early signs of stress in themselves. So I'm going to throw it to you first, Tanika. What are some early signs of burnout in caregivers, and how can they recognize these signs themselves before it leads to a major crisis?
Okay. So the early signs, first of all, when we come to caregivers, they feel so obligated that they are still in denial, so they don't help themselves. So is your sleep. You will go and not have proper rest. You will become very irritable and not knowing that you are irritable. Your mood swings. You will even begin to feeling isolated, staying away from people, fatigue and exhaustion. So it's a lot of things, depression and anxiety. You'll end up having more ailments than you thought. You were just having a migraine. Now you have a backache. Now you have a knee ache. Every ache in your body will begin to surface with that. So how one can become, helpful, and other people can see that, having like support systems, being able to say, I am tired, but not feeling bad about saying, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. Because if we're loving and taking care of our parents who took care of us, we feel really bad that we have to say, I'm tired of taking care of mom, I'm tired of taking care of dad. But it's not that. I'm just tired. I need to refuel. And I think a lot of things are verbiage, whether we word things. When we're tired, we're not tired of the people. We may be
Mm-mm.
tired of the situation, but we're just exhausted self. We have to replenish those things by having resources and support systems and talking with family. A lot of times we have a lot of caregivers in Department of Human Services that actually can reach out and help us, and AARP, things that we don't even think about that are there to help us.
Mhm.
Thank you. And I would never have thought about ARP, nor I wouldn't have thought about human and health services being a resource for
Yes,
caregivers. But I, I,
Mhm.
I guess so, because, lots of times caregivers may be receiving Medicare or Medicaid, so it would make sense. But most
absolutely.
individuals would not have thought of it because I
Mm,
didn't think about that and
right.
didn't see the connection. And then AARP, well, I'm at that age that I can belong to AARP, and I'm so happy. But I wouldn't have thought about it as a resource
Hmm.
in the event that I needed assistance for helping a loved one.
Yes.
Now, Felicia, I want you to approach this, but I want you to approach it from a different perspective because you are an award-winning reality fiction, Christian fiction writer, however you want to say it. And I know that you personally have experienced some things, but you also capture the emotions that community members feel or individuals feel in your work. So when we talk about these early signs of burnout in caregivers, what immediately comes to your mind?
Well, I would say if I'm thinking or talking to people about the characters in my book, first of all, just burnout, period. I would have to probably focus in on Anne, on the middle daughter, and the things she was dealing with, and how she had gotten to the point where, for her, her burnout point was mentally and emotionally, she was burnt out from trying to survive and to deal day to day with her mother and with her family dynamics. And so for her, that looked like keeping, sometimes it's keeping secrets, not communicating like she should with her sisters, and of course not communicating at all with her mother, saying how she felt, because she did not want to be attacked verbally or physically about how she felt. So I would say that for her, that was a sign of burnout developing for her. Also, I would say when it comes to her character, the fact that she was getting to the point where she wanted to give up. Um, in her case, that meant her wanting or starting to have a desire to take a way out the only way she knew or thought the right way, which was suicide or suicide attempts. That for her was her reaching the point of burnout. I'm tired of trying to hold on and tired of trying to deal with my emotions and keep them inside and deal with all the things that are going on in the household. So for my character, Anne, I would say those were signs of burnout for her. On a personal note, I would say some signs, or one of the biggest signs of burnout is sometimes you may find yourself maybe sitting somewhere in the dark all by yourself for a while, or somebody's looking for you. Where are you at? You kind of just went and
Right.
hid out because you were tired and trying to get away. So I think maybe some isolation or some what you might call some you consider it me time, but really what's going on is you're starting to burn out and you don't have as much energy as you had before to do the things that you feel you need to do and are obligated to do. But again, as you said earlier, it's okay to try to find some time for you to do that.
Mhm.
It's just when it's in the form of burnout, it can be trying to hide or isolate from individuals.
Felicia, you made a good point here. And And if you would define me time from your perspective, because you're right, sometimes we say, oh, this is my me time, but it's really not me time. Well, it could be me time, but how do you describe me time? And I'm going to kick that same question to you, Tenyeka.
Um, it can be in a lot of it. I would say this: it can be with other individuals, or it can be by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It may be that you just need some quiet time, alone. Maybe you want to go sit out on the back porch and just drink a cup of coffee, and maybe listen to the birds chirp early in the morning. Or for you, me time might be, I really need to step outside these doors and go and have breakfast with my girlfriends. They keep asking me to come and to get out, but I don't want to leave because I need to be here with this person. And I probably could go, but
Right.
I don't want another person to come in that's a family or friend and watch my loved one for
Right.
me, or take on this situation for me. But me time could be that. It can be you by yourself. It could be you simply going to get in a jacuzzi tub or a warm shower and,
Right.
even turn on some music in the shower and just stay in that hot water for, and let it just run all over you for a good 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Maybe that's me time to you. For
Mm-hmm.
for me, I love a warm shower. My husband figures it's scalding. So look, we grown, we married here, so he don't make it a habit of getting in there with me, but every now and then he does. And so it's hot, okay? It's scalding. That for me, that's my me time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so now he's gonna have to let's turn the water down
Oh, a
just a little
little
bit when he
bit. You
comes
don't
in when
scald
he
them. You're
comes in there,
right.
Felicia. I don't want to scald him.
I'm trying to
But
de-stress,
he's trying to help you de-stress,
taking care
you
of
know.
me.
Oh, this is good to me.
Tanika, how would you define me time?
Well, my meantime, you have to be able to recognize your positives and your negatives. So for me, just sitting in a place, my car, give you a good example. Before I go into work, I sit for 5 minutes. Before I come in my house, I decompress for at least 20 to 30 minutes so I can reset, so I can leave work at work and come into the house, not as the
Mhm.
therapist, but as the wife and the mother.
Mm.
So a lot of things that I do, I just sit. I don't mind. I like going places by myself,
Mm-hmm.
and just sitting there and listening to the nature, what God's His goodness, and
Mm-hmm.
also just learning. Very good. I love yoga, so mindful techniques. That works really well for me, just breathing and slowing everything down because we're such in a hurry. We're moving. Felicia had to come home and take a nap. She's moving early. We're all
Early.
moving, but we don't realize we need to pause just for a little bit and just reset. So I like to reset, just if it's a 5 or 10. Yeah, that's me. That's my me time.
Can I
Well, the therapist
also add
says,
one more,
mhm,
Teresa?
yeah,
Um, I would like to add me time also looks like setting your boundaries. Okay. That to me is a form of me time. You
Definitely
may say, well,
is.
I am especially as a caregiver, between the hours of 8 or 7 and 10 or 10:30, you can't reach me. That's my downtime right there. I don't want to be on the phone. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't even want to text. I just want to sit here on this couch and relax and let my feet up. So even that, setting your boundaries can be a form of me time.
and I thank you for sharing that, Felicia, because the reason I was asking the question, because when you mentioned it earlier, I thought about, sometimes we're saying it's our me time, but it's really us in our burnout state.
Right.
And there's a difference, and we have to be very mindful of that. And so that's the reason I
Mhm.
want us to delve into that a little bit. And as you talked about the boundaries, we have to set boundaries. And I don't know if this is a woman thing or what, but it is so hard for us to draw the line. I don't know if it's that innate thing
It
about taking care of other
is.
people, but
Mm-hmm.
we just can't take care of ourselves. Not everybody, guys, but a lot of us, we can't because we're too busy taking care of everyone
Other.
else.
Right.
And then it's like, then I suffer. And again, as I always tell myself, when you suffer, everybody gonna suffer. So
Yeah.
if you don't want other people to suffer, you need to take care of yourself first.
Right.
But I understand it mentally, but then when it comes to whatever is happening, my heart just seems to want to go a different way. And it's nothing wrong with us carving out that time for us. And it's Tenyeka, as you were saying in the Pathos article that I did for that I featured you in, you talked about some of your practices, and you hinted at it just now. But you know, your Bible study, your praying, those are your practices. You know, going to church, but those are a part of your mental health well-being. And now you
Exactly.
added that you wait 5 minutes before you hop out the car to go in to work.
Right.
Mhm.
Then you make sure you said 20 to 30 minutes you decompress before you go in your house so that you can then be a wife and a mother. And
Right.
that's so important because you are setting those boundaries that Felicia just talked about. So it's so important.
It
Let
it
me,
it. I'm
no,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
Just important that it's hard for us to set boundaries like you said because we we take care of everyone, and when we set the boundary it's not for the person, it's for us. So as we're setting them we cannot feel, oh my god, I said for them not to call me in 2 hours. Like, you have to be intentional. Like, I'm intentional with my Bible study, intentional about taking that hot scalding shower. I need that. You have to be intentional about those boundaries because it helps you to reset you and your clarity in your mind.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because who
Absolutely.
nurtures the
I just
nurturer?
want,
That's the question.
absolutely. I just want to recognize a couple of people and a couple of comments here. We've got Bernice is here with us, and we've got Joy Messenberg here. MS Miss Brookins has joined us. Robert, All Sports Athletic Apparel said, excellent conversation, ladies. We've got, I think it's Blacko 006 has joined us. And she says, here she says, blessings. We've got Everett 1173. We've got blessings and joy in the Lord. Have a great week. This is from, I think it's MLT Shine #1, has joined us also. So thank you guys so much for joining us and also your comments. Now, in what ways can caregivers really prioritize their own mental health while still providing quality care to their loved ones? We've talked around it. We've talked about the self-care and setting boundaries, but what can they really do? Because some people are going to say, well, that sounds good, but can you give me something that's a little more concrete that I can actually do to prioritize my own mental health while I am still providing high quality care for that loved one?
Mm.
Yes,
Um,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go
You
right
know,
ahead, Dr. Gibson.
Um, I recommend that you're sitting there and you're honest. I'm always about, you need to be able to express how you're feeling and what it is doing. So if you can't articulate what's happening to me, I can't serve your purpose or your need. So if you're saying, look, I just need some me time just to either go get a petty medi. I mean, that's just a time to unwind. You have to say that. But in so many times, that's not what's happening. You want to help, but they don't know how to ask for the help. Because again, that word is obligation. I feel bad about not being there. And the burnout, we need to be able to say, I'm tired, but not being judged because those are your
Mm.
parents or someone you have to take care of. Um, and if you have siblings, being able to, I have my sister, she's strong in certain areas that I am not strong in. Okay,
mhm,
she can do some things I can't do. We have to be able to, like like an IEP plan in school. They
mhm.
have those specific treatment plans that have for the child. We have to have those things for the patient, that our parents, that were our loved ones, but as well as for us. This is my area of weakness, and I need help. We have to come back to the table and talk about what it looks like for the individual.
I like
That's
that idea, Doctor, because I can get it immediately having worked in schools. And it can be a treatment plan guide for those who don't have school background or don't have children who have been on IEP. It can be a treatment plan that your doctor sets up for you for whatever. It's
exactly.
very specific what you have to do and when you have to
Exactly.
do that. So
Mhm.
what you're saying is likewise, we can do the same thing as far as how we care for that loved one. But
Yes.
but you said something really interesting. Felicia may touch on it, but I'm gonna flip to Felicia. That sibling, but that means the siblings all got to be on one. Well, they don't have to be on one accord, but we got to be on a accord.
Yeah, let's get on
Mm.
a accord. Yeah.
because we're not always on one accord, but we got to be on
Absolutely.
a core,
Yeah.
because otherwise, most times it's always one child that does more for mama and daddy than the other. I'm just sorry, guys. It is in most families. And then the siblings will make you feel bad, like you haven't done enough, and you're the only person that's doing something.
Right. Absolutely.
Felicia, what are your thoughts about how we can make sure that I can prioritize my need if I'm the caregiver, but also still provide that high quality care for that loved one?
Well, I want to kind of circle back a little bit to what Tenyeka mentioned earlier, because everything that she said leads to or goes up under, to me, person that is using or seeking for social support and making connections to be able to help them be able to be a caregiver. And so again, that means using your family and friends, but that also can include joining maybe a support group. Having a group that you can go and talk to, and they can relate and understand how it is that you feel. And so again, you don't have to feel bad about it, because here's this group that understands exactly what I'm saying, as compared to somebody who may not be in this role and they don't understand. So connecting to social groups is a great way for you to be to do that. I would also kind of just like to piggyback off of what you said about siblings being taking care of parents. I just publicly, again, right now, want to say how much it meant to me for my sister, my middle sister, who was very much 90+% her caregiver of my mother during the time of her illness. And so for us as siblings, the way that we were on one accord was we all knew our roles in areas of strengths and weaknesses when it came to taking care of her and helping my sister to do what she needed to do. Me, I handle all the administrative stuff when it comes to my mom, or picking up the things that she needs when I come home and come to visit her. And then my other sister, she was the one that would go out and run the errands when she came home. And then my middle sister did, again, the primary caregiving and the feeding and the changing. And when we did come home on the weekends, we would be there to help her with those things, because we knew she needed to go and take a break. She needed some time to just go sit in the garage and listen to some music, or just scroll through her phone if she wanted to. So then that meant we needed to be the ones to step in to feed and to change. We needed to be the ones to be back there and observe, to watch, to listen out for any signs or anything that might change. So I would think the biggest thing is you can't be ashamed or feel guilty or bad about getting a support group to be there to help you, so that you can do the best that you can do to help your loved ones.
And I think, Felicia, the way that you laid that out, it lines right back up to the treatment plan, the IEP. And my question for you, you named, was it two other siblings?
Yes.
What was, if you don't mind me asking, did you guys have a fairly strong relationship prior to your mom's illness?
We did.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because the way that you guys were able to take on your role without, and of course, I'm in the background. I don't know what it was like day to day or month to month, but it sounds like you guys were able to take on your role, and everybody understood and respected the fact that each person's role was important.
Correct.
So, and that's, and siblings are so interesting. I'm the oldest, and siblings are interesting. And it sounded good, Felicia. Really, it did.
I know it sounds good. For some, it may seem impossible, but I'm grateful that we were able to do that. I would also add, to the viewers and listeners, that they may want to, as a primary caregiver, do a self-check for themselves, just step back and take some time to evaluate how they're feeling, recognize those signs of burnout, get information on what that looks like, so you'll know when it's starting to happen to you. Because even as working together, us as siblings working together with my mother, we too needed to know when Melissa was hitting burnout. What did that look like on her? When we stepped in the house and we looked at her face, what did her face look like? Was it on her face, her body? Is it in her shoulders? When I look at her, I can see her wearing it. but does she see that that's what it is?
Mm-hmm. You know, now, Felicia, that is so important what you just said. And I know Doc is going to weigh in on it. But, and I don't, and I know that you as in your Pathos order, we talk about, the intergenerational trauma and things of that nature. I know your faith is very important to you, and your resiliency and being compassionate and relying on God to lead and guide you. But the fact that you make the statement that it's not just when it's a team of us who are providing that care. It's important for every team member to recognize what burnout looks like on every team member. Because we understand when we first start the conversation that the individual doesn't necessarily recognize when they're experiencing burnout. But there are other people who are part of this team. We already done made that statement. I don't recognize it. So to have someone who is going to be looking out for my well-being at the same time as we're all collectively looking out for the well-being, in your case, of your mom, I think that's so important. So, as siblings, it's almost like a tiered thing. We all concerned about our loved one. Then we have to have that plan, as we've talked about, the IEP, or that medical treatment plan. That's that other layer. We also got to have that respect for siblings and not want to outdo each other. Then we got to be mindful of our own well-being, then our siblings' well-being, who we all are part of this collective. And to me, it's like it's so multifaceted or tiered that it's easy for people or a person to just overlook. I think it's particularly if there's other people involved. I think being able to recognize that my sibling, or it could be my father as a caregiver, or my mother could be a caregiver, and I'm helping them. But recognizing that that person has reached their limit.
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10, we do not realize we've reached our limit. But then how do we sit them down? Now, you guys know what I mean by sit them down. How do we take them from this place where they are so locked in and move them out of that space so that we can take care of them, they can take care of themselves, and ultimately we can get back to our routine and our loved one is being taken care of effectively. Because, when we're in that burnout space, sometimes we think we're effective, but we're not effective.
Right. I would say, first of all, I recognized that being a difficult thing for my own sister. It was very, very difficult for her to even want to leave the house, and go to the grocery store or something like that. It was very difficult for her not to want to constantly be there in the room or constantly going back and forth, peeping in and seeing what's going on. So I'm just going to share this. One of the things I did during that time on a visit there for the weekend, even though we could not get her to, go out, I happened to be in my back bedroom and she had come back there to talk to me. And so something just told me, I took time out, I sat on the couch next to her. Because to me, this was her breaking away for just a minute, to come back there to see me. So I took that opportunity and just wrapped my arms around her and hugged her. And I pulled her in and put her head on my shoulder. And I just loved on her like the little sister she was to me, when she first came home, the little bitty girl that I grew up with. And to me, that was a moment of comfort for her, even though she had not physically left the space. It gave her a moment, I think, emotionally and spiritually to breathe a little bit, just to have that hug or that touch, to give her a moment to just breathe, to exhale and then inhale. And even though, she had that bit of a moment, she didn't necessarily have to leave the physical space of where she was, but it gave her a moment to kind of go away emotionally and mentally, I would say. So sometimes it may be that you can't get them out of the house or out of that routine physically, but maybe in the house, in a different space in the house, you can have a moment, with them, even if it's just sitting down at the table, having a drink with them, or sitting down, sharing a memory of a story, laughing with them. That kind of takes them away for a few moments.
Mhm. Those are excellent and practical strategies there. Thank you, Felicia. Doc, did you want to weigh in on that also?
I did. Sometimes we just forget the simple question, how are you doing today? And
Mm-hmm.
I had it, and my sister, and I just want to shout out to all caregivers and those who
Yes.
help and assist. My sister, she built a house for my parents to move in with her, and she wanted to be the one to do it all. And I go, okay, when are their appointments? Because you talk about those
Yeah.
those siblings who follow the treatment plan, and we have some that buck the
Nope.
system. They're not going to follow because I know what's best. And she was not that one, but she wanted to be the one. I can do it all, because for her, that was her support, but she was neglecting herself.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how'd you go in and remove them, or as you said, sit them down? You have to do just that and say, come here, let's have a seat. I'm going to take you away and do that, because she would not. She was quiet. She was the quiet one. Her name was Shahida, and she was very quiet. And I have all the appointments. I said, no, I'll meet you there. Then you can go back home to what you need to do. I am the oldest, so you have to just take over. I mean, you have to just do what you have to do, and we'll discuss it later, because at the end of the day, our support is coming from, we want to take care of our loved ones, but also we want to take care of the ones that are taking care of our loved ones. And that looks like, hey, come on, let's go out, let's take a ride. I had to trick her a couple times.
Mhm.
Let's go walk to Walmart, and we had to end up having lunch and just sit down.
Mhm.
And you have to be kind, you have to be clever with it.
Mhm.
Um, and knowing that when they burn out, like you said, they don't see that. And
Mhm.
sometimes they'll be hitting their heads against the wall, not knowing that they're hitting their heads against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
But the question is, what's happening? Our parents are transitioning,
Mhm.
and that's what's happening. We have to understand, what does that look like? And I had to ask her, what does that look like for you? And for a long time, she couldn't give me the answer. She didn't want to answer the question. And I'm the one that's, hey, let's go. We got to do this. This is the next step. And she was like, you're moving too fast. I can't believe you're moving that fast. But reality, time was moving that fast. And we need to get some things done. So I think sometimes we just sit down and say, how you doing? Get in their face. I can get in my sibling's face and go, I love you. What is it that you need? What do you need me to do? Oh, you can't? Okay, I'll do that. And no, don't. But that's how you end up just having, that transparency. And we are going to have some that are not going to be transparent and going to know, but they don't know. And I just respect that. And I listen to that. I let them express, but I continue to do what needs to be done, taking care of the loved ones and taking care of the caregivers.
Well, absolutely. Well, ladies, our show is at a conclusion for tonight, but we're going to be back, guys, because caregivers is reality is,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
if you live long enough, you may
They,
be a caregiver for someone.
mhm.
And um, and so we now are beginning to talk more about it and the needs of the caregivers. And so we're going to come back next week, and we're going to talk more about self-care for caregivers, burnout, what we can do to support them, what you need to do to support yourself, because it's a reality.
Yes,
And
yes.
you don't want to provide the best care for someone else, and then you wind up sick. And sometimes that's what happens. Next week, we'll talk a little bit more about that, and then some of the other pitfalls that unfortunately sometimes caregivers find themselves in. Um, Again, great conversation, guys. For the audience, please learn more about these wonderful ladies. They are excellent resources. You can go to my Dr. TAS Speaks column on Pathos. Got two great articles about these young ladies. Dr. Gibson and her wellness practice. Felicia, as I indicated, is a award-winning Christian fiction novelist. She's a screenplay writer. The Brownie, The Unforgettable Trip, that premiered last year. So again, these ladies, they know what they're talking about. They either know it, as some folks like to say, they've lived the experience, and listen to both of them, they both have lived this experience. And then they have the expertise as educators in their own profession to also bring resources to you. So again, to the audience, go back and listen to this because I picked up something. I didn't even think about Health and Human Services would have resources there for caregivers. I didn't think about AARP having a resource there for caregivers. So again, there are lots of nuggets that have been shared tonight, and we will be back next Sunday, and we will pick this up for our second section of self-care for caregivers.
Yeah.
And so thank you, ladies, so much for being with me tonight. I have really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, ladies.
All right.
Until next time.
Absolutely.
Have a good evening.
My sign off is Tenyeka. And thank you, everybody who's joined us. Before you take care of someone else, make sure you take care of yourself first, because that is what self-care is all about. Thank you, ladies.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Do something.
Bye.